Alright everyone, we start off today with a little bit of buyer's remorse, it seems, from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. What is he cooking up? It's buyer's remorse. He had endorsed Biden in 2020 in that election, and he was asked about it. You know, what do you think about your endorsement in context of the current economy and everything that's going on? And said that he would not be making that sort of endorsement again this election season. The Rock is interesting. He sort of does the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing, where it's like, I'm a dedicated centrist, and let me be very, very careful and very, very measured in what I put out there. And I think that does point to political ambitions for him. I think that he's carefully grooming an image of himself as being sort of like common sense alternative to the chaos of politics, and he's probably expecting more chaos, and he's probably not wrong on that one. And it doesn't even matter who wins the election. If Biden wins, the economy will probably upend and collapse. If Trump wins, there will probably be left-wing riots. So it doesn't really matter what happens. We're in for an interesting time. I think that he does have presidential ambitions, The Rock specifically. I do believe that. He has already flirted with politics for some time. A lot of people would like him to enter politics. And actually, he's pretty well-spoken and stuff. It's funny. Oftentimes, we think of, like, big, brawny dudes, right? Especially in movie roles, like an Arnold Schwarzenegger. And you think, oh, well, they're fucking brain dead. You know, they used a lot of roids and stuff. They addled their mind. The Rock is actually pretty well-spoken. I mean, he's by far better than anyone in the Biden administration. Probably another reason why he's not making another full-throated endorsement like he did in 2020. And yeah, maybe in the future we'll have to give him a chance, give him a shot, because he could do worse, I think. Honestly, you could do worse than The Rock. But I think that I know exactly why he wouldn't be endorsing Biden. Again, it's tied in with potentially political ambitions. Joe Biden at this point is dead weight. You do not want to be associated with Biden or anyone in the core of his administration. He has extremely low approval, far lower than Trump had at this point in his presidency, way lower than Obama or even W had, although W was on the decline at this point in his first term. He's probably not going to be reelected. His vice president is a joke. His secretary of state is a joke. The most intelligent person in his cabinet is the transport secretary, and he's a cringe lord and looks like Dracula. So being associated with that may not be the best thing to do if you're going to pursue a career in politics later on. And The Rock has plenty of time to do that. I mean, he's not exactly elderly or anything like that. I remember him from The Mummy and other great movies. He is a cool dude, admittedly. Really good choreography, by the way. What he's cooking is buyer's remorse. He realizes it was not a good idea to endorse Joe Biden. Think of it from the position of a political opportunist, which is what The Rock is. He clearly, again, he has that ambition. In 2020, you're looking at a situation, you've got a bunch of lockdowns with huge economic damage resulting. You have a sitting president, then Trump, of course, who is embattled by the entire legacy media, taking his lumps on a day-to-day basis. You've got multiple quasi-scandals. I realize that Trump didn't actually do anything corrupt or illegal in those cases, but it was being astroturfed as though it was true. And public perception means more than reality. When you're talking about elected politics, what the public perceives is more important than what is actually true. A lot of people don't understand this. That's why they don't succeed in politics. Those of us that do often take a step back and don't want to enter politics because of how fucking filthy it is, actually. I'm hesitant to throw my hat in the ring for even, like, the local mayor's office or something like that. Also take time off of my busy schedule of growing plants and making cool videos. Had a difficulty the other day with some of my text files. I'll get into that at some future date, but I can make up for lost time. I think that The Rock looks at the Biden admin and says, okay, I endorsed him before because I figured the Trump campaign at the time was derailed. It was having major problems logistically speaking. This time around, you're not exactly so sure what's going to happen. It's a very unknown quantity in the 24 election. You don't want to be in the shithouse with any standing president, so what you do is you don't endorse at all. You simply say, in a low-key way, you say, well, I kind of sort of regret having endorsed. It was the right thing at the time, and I stand by that. So you don't want to go back on your word, of course, to the liberal voters. But at the same time, I can, in good faith, endorse this time around because the state of the country is not good, and there are multiple problems, so I'm going to sit this one out. It puts you above the fray so that you don't take any flack from either side, regardless of what pans out, because it's too much of an unknown quantity. And that's what The Rock is doing here, and he's wise to do so. It shows strategic thinking on a level that you wouldn't expect from the Biden administration, certainly, now doesn't it? That's one quality that you do want in a leader. If you want a chief executive, they have to be able to act on the fly. They have to be able to use strategic thinking. They're the chief diplomat of the United States of America. Again, you could probably do worse than this dude. I'd be surprised if we didn't see a presidential run from The Rock. Or at the very least like a gubernatorial run or something like that on the dedicated centrist sort of platform. He's doing well for himself. Again, link in the description to a little clip of him talking there. And it's quite clear, if you look at the body language, you look at the things he says, and the timing of this, by the way, as well. You know, we're marching into election season. It is very, very telling, I think, that he does have political ambitions. And again, you could do worse. As far as Biden, though, goes, you don't want to be associated with his campaign. Right now, Trump is surging in fundraising. We got that report earlier today. He's well ahead in all of the polls. You don't want to fuck with Big Don because Big Don will make your life difficult. You also don't want to piss off Joe Biden in the off chance that he does get reelected. You don't want the sitting president to shit can you. We've seen what happens to people that fuck with Joe Biden. They typically have certain legal persecutions against them. Maybe The Rock banged a 16-year-old fan 20 years ago and it comes back to haunt him. He don't want that happening. So he decides this time around it's not as certain as it was in 2020, when it was a solid bet, according to him, that Biden would win, so he endorsed him. He's like, well, I had to use my influence at the time for what I thought was right, and you know, we all do that. You know, we all try to convince other people of how they should vote, etc. I know I do that every single day. But this time around, it's so much of a 50-50 sum game, I think, to him, that he's like, it's probably a bad idea to make a bet. In this particular instance, the only good bet to make is not to make one at all. And so I think that points to his ambitions. I think he genuinely has soured on Biden, though. I can't imagine anyone in the country hasn't, including core fans. Even some of them will tacitly admit that Biden has made a bunch of mistakes. The only recourse they have is to say, well, yeah, but I'm a lifelong Dem. Or, well, yeah, but Orange Man bad. That's basically the only defense of Joe Biden that you can resort to at this time. That's about all. Peace out.